Good morning. I'm Steve Boaldin, and I'm a cowboy artist, and I have a show on OETA called Art of a Cowboy. And this is something that I've been kind of wanting to try to do for a while, is kind of set up a camera and talk about how I start paintings and what my thought process is through them. So, I work different than anybody else. Everybody else, has their own styles. So, and mine is always changing, it's always growing, and I think that as an artist, you should be growing and changing and experimenting all the time. So, this is something that I just this is my first trial at it, so bear with me. I'm in my studio by myself today, just taking some footage to kind of give people an idea about what I do. If you've looked on Facebook under Art of a Cowboy, lately I've been posting, every few days I post progress on a painting that I've been working on. So I've had quite a bit of people say, yeah, I'd like to see some more of that, see how you do that. Other artists as well as just people that are interested in what I do and the process of what I'm doing. So anyway, I would like to thank you for joining me. And so we'll get right into it. And this is a picture of a painting of a picture that I took on one of the ranches called the Stewart Ranch. Back in one of my episodes, I believe it was episode 8. That day it was rainy, kind of cloudy, but it was a very good day. It was like there was probably 15 to 20 cowboys there. This is a pose that I thought kind of caught my eye. It is of a young boy that was helping that day. He was dressed to the hilt. I mean, this is really a cowboy-looking young man. I would say he was probably anywhere from 12 to 15 years old. He was in there throwing calves, holding them down while they branded and doctored. And so anyway, it was kind of neat to me. I wanted to do a young cowboy. And I do a lot of older cowboys and a lot of these kind of scenes, but this one caught my eye. This is a fairly small painting that I'm doing for the Small Works Great Wonders show here at the Cowboy Hall of Fame this year, and I was very, very blessed to get in that show. And so I'm going to be doing a series of paintings over the next month or two until it's time and due to turn them in, and then I'm going to pick from those, and they have to be done no larger than a 16 by 20. So anyway, this is one that I'm doing. I did one last week for it too. It's the same size, and you'll see that on Facebook. So what I'm going to do today is attempt to tell you a little bit about my process and what I'm doing here. So anyway, I've kind of explained about the young boy here. He's dressed very punchy. You can't see a lot of this. You'll see that down here is an underdrawing that has already been placed on this gessoed board. I like to use gessoed board rather than canvas. I do use canvases sometimes, but I like to create my own textures. And so the way I do it, instead of, I used to just use a brush and brush it on, and it left all these brush strokes in it. But the problem with that for me was when I went to paint it, depending on where the brush strokes fell, it could fall in the little boy's face, and it didn't have the right texture that I didn't want in that. And it was pretty hard to cover it with the way that I paint, because I paint in glazes, I paint in layers, and I put down generalities of colors as I'm just blocking one end. So the other day on the one that I did, I started out with a kind of a sepia tone acrylic base to get the values right. And what I mean by values is on a scale from black and white, there's gradation between all of those, all the way from black to white. And so when you're looking at a photo in color, it's pretty hard to see those values. It's very hard for a young artist or an artist that's just starting to be able to pick up what the values look like in color. So a lot of times I will take my photos into Photoshop, turn them into a black and white photo. And then I mess with the intensities, bringing up the highlights, darkening the darks, you know, so that it has a value reading as though you were seeing it in black and white, like you're painting it in black and white. So that's why I start, you know, kind of with a sepia tone a lot of times. But this is an example of one that I'm not starting with in a sepia tone. I'm just going right in to a full color painting. As you get used to looking for values in those black and white studies or those sepia tone studies, to me, you get used to that, and so then you can start seeing it when you're applying the color. Now, I start out with just generalities of colors, not the complete colors, and that's why I glaze. What I do is I get a close value, say for instance in the skin of the young boy. The drawing is just kind of, you know, there, but his expression is going to change a lot when I start glazing in real personality to him. So I'll start out with a black hat, but I'll paint it in a dark black and then come in with Payne's grays and start giving it volume. I've only painted on this painting, well, I started it day before yesterday, and I worked on it some that evening to get kind of these basic underlying colors in. This is going to be a lot of like dead grass down here, and this is going to be a little greener, and then there's going to be a fence line. Of course, you can see, maybe you can see it going across back here. I like to work in a lot of angles behind things. Like when I put clouds in a painting, I use a lot of angles to draw the eye, and it also, I think, helps the composition in my mind. It's just kind of one of those things that is just a tendency for me as a natural composition helper. So what I do is when I start the main drawing part, then I kind of look at what would kind of counteract or, you know, pull you through the painting, if that makes sense. So anyway, this is just some thoughts that I have to start with that hopefully will help artists and then help people understand why these processes take place. And over 40 years of painting and experience, this is kind of why these pictures are not, these paintings are not cheap, but they're not expensive either. So I try to do what the general public can afford most of the time, and then I kind of know how much work goes in behind it, and so I kind of want you to know so that you can appreciate what goes into what I would call the best painting that I can do right now. And what I'm saying there is quality work is what I'm trying to say. So that's not, you know, saying that I'm bragging. There are a lot better artists out there than I am, and I've learned a lot from them. And so, but the thing is you push yourself to be one of them, I believe, and that's been my lifelong goal. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this process. I'm going to try to just experiment with this as I go along. So anyway, what I do too is, I hope you can see this, is I paint from a TV screen. See, there's the photo that I used to go by. So here he is in a blown up situation. And see, on the computer, as you probably a lot of you know, you can zoom in on the details and, you know, get those things. You can choose to leave things out or put things in. And so that's why, you know, that's part of the design process. So anyway, I'm choosing right now to leave some of the brown in the background out and just use the fence to simplify that, for one thing, but give it some movement through the painting, but also downplay, you know, make him stand out against the things that are going on, so it tells a story and yet makes him pop out. So that's the end goal, is to make your main subject more intense, more detailed, and it guides the eye through the painting. I mean, to what you want it to look like, you know, what you want the viewer to see. And so, I mean, sometimes I'll tend to get too much detail around it for a while, and then I have to back that out. But anyway, I kind of wanted to show this one as it was already started, because it's pretty hard to explain things when you have just a blank canvas and you don't have a lot of time to just start one and film the whole thing. So anyway, this one's done a little different than the sepia tone I showed on Facebook this week, and we may talk about that one later in another video. But this is just a starting point for me, and so I would like to share that experience with you. So thank you for joining me today. As I paint on this some more, I'll come back and show you some things, and I'll take some up-close pictures of this here in a minute so that you can see what it looks like. It might be glaring in this light. I'll kind of do this to see if these lights will come off of the glare. You know, I'll move it around. But at this point, I'm just trying to get in some rough folds in his shirt. I'm just trying to get everything basically in. Some of it's going to look a little harsh to begin with. You know, these wrinkles and crevices are a little dark, but you have to me, I have to kind of paint them in and then come back in and soften them out. But right now I'm trying to cover up the whole white board and all of the aspects of this young boy, the boots, the chaps, everything in it. So then I can start working on the subtleties of the painting itself. So anyway, it'll be one of those kind of processes as we go through this. This again is a trial for me. I hope this turns out good enough to see, and I hope that somebody can learn something from this. I enjoy sharing what I've learned, and so I want you to know that I'm just trying to do this to help others. And so it's been a blessing to me. I've had so many people help me and share their lives with me. I've had other fantastic artists, Western artists that paint all kinds of subjects that have helped me to learn more and more and more. So thank you for joining me, and we'll get back to some more later.